Picture this.
The year is 1877.
And in a single summer, millions of people died.
But this wasn't a war. It wasn't a plague. The killer was something much more elemental. It was heat and the hunger that came right after.
The numbers, they're just staggering. An estimated 50 million people perished. Think about that. 20 million in India alone. Up to 30 million in China. Another 2 million in Brazil. And famines just swept across Africa. It was like the entire planet was hit by catastrophe all at once.
And the trigger for all of this? It started thousands of kilometers away, as just a subtle shift in the Pacific Ocean, a phenomenon that fishermen in Peru called El Niño. But in 1877, this was no small event. This was a super El Niño.
So now, more than 140 years later, we have to ask a pretty terrifying question. Is it coming back?
Okay, so to really get what's at stake here, we need to look at this massive engine in our ocean that basically drives our planet's entire climate.
So what is El Niño? Well, you can think of it as this giant redistribution of heat across the Pacific Ocean. When that much water, we're talking trillions of liters, warms up, it unleashes enough energy to completely rewrite weather patterns for the whole world.
See, in a normal year, you've got these strong winds, the trade winds that blow from east to west, from the Americas over to Asia. They basically push all the warm surface water west. This allows colder water to come up along the coast of South America. And all that warm water piled up in the west, that's what fuels the heavy rains for places like Australia and Indonesia.
But during an El Niño year, everything flips. Those trade winds, they get weak. Sometimes they even reverse. And that massive pool of warm water, it's not stuck in the west anymore. It just kind of sloshes back across the Pacific. And when that happens, the entire system gets turned on its head. The rain follows the warm water, so you get these crazy floods in South America, but at the same time, devastating droughts hit Australia, Southeast Asia, and this is the critical part. It severely weakens the monsoon in India.
Which brings us to 2026. And the thing is, this isn't looking like just another cycle. This one feels different.
So America's National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, that's NOAA, they put out a forecast, and it shows a 61% chance of an El Niño forming right in the middle of 2026. You know, the timing here is just awful. It would be peaking exactly when India's monsoon season is supposed to be at its strongest.
You know, we actually got a little preview of this back in 2015. That was the last Super El Niño, and it caused these record-breaking heat waves. More than 2,500 people died in India alone. You see the pattern here? It's escalating. And the projections for 2026, they're really alarming.
Yeah, the experts are not holding back. Professor Paul Roundy at the University at Albany said this could be the biggest one in 140 years. Some are even calling it a potential mega El Niño, an event with an intensity we just haven't seen since that catastrophic summer back in 1877.
But, and this is the crucial part, there's a huge difference between then and now. The 2026 El Niño isn't showing up in the world of 1877. It's showing up in a world that's already 1.4 degrees Celsius hotter on average. So El Niño is basically pouring gasoline on an already raging fire. It's adding heat to a system that's already overheating. That's the climate change multiplier.
All right, to really understand the impact, let's zoom in on one country that's sitting right in the crosshairs of this whole thing, India. The very first domino to fall? The monsoon. For the first time since 2015, forecasters are saying India is likely to have a below normal monsoon. We're talking rainfall that could be as low as 92% of the average.
Now, why is that such a big deal? Well, it exposes a massive vulnerability. Over half, 51% of India's farming is completely dependent on rain. No irrigation, just the monsoon. So a weak monsoon isn't just a little less water. It's a direct threat to the food supply for hundreds of millions of people.
And the economic fallout from that, it's immediate. Just look at the history. In a super El Niño year, food prices typically jump by about 9%. For a country that's already fighting high inflation, that kind of spike could be absolutely devastating, especially for the poorest families.
But you know, it's easy to get lost in the numbers, the economics. There's a much more direct cost here, a physical one, a cost that isn't measured in rupees, but in human lives. Just look at what happened in Delhi during the 2024 heat wave. Okay, so daytime temperatures went up by 1.8 degrees Celsius,
Hot, for sure, but the real danger, that came after the sun went down. Nighttime temperatures shot up by a staggering 4.4 degrees. That's more than double the increase during the day. When the night doesn't cool down, your body never gets a chance to recover, and that's when the risk of heat stroke just skyrockets.
And this leads to a really cruel cycle, this AC paradox. Right? The people who can afford it, they crank up the air conditioning. It cools down their homes, sure. But all that AC exhaust, it just pumps hot air right back outside, making the city even hotter for everyone else, especially for those who have nowhere to escape.
So who bears the brunt of this? It's the most vulnerable, of course. We're talking about the millions of people in India who work outside. Construction workers, street vendors, delivery drivers. For them, this heat isn't just some inconvenience. It is a direct attack on their ability to make a living. A 2024 study found that for outdoor workers in Delhi, just a 1 degree Celsius rise in temperature means a 14% drop in what they earn.
So you see, this isn't just a weather event anymore. It's a crisis, and it's exposing a system that is, well, broken. Let me ask you something. Why isn't a heat wave officially a disaster in India? It's a pretty startling gap in policy, right? A cold wave can be declared a natural disaster, but a heat wave, no matter how many people it kills, can't be. And that's not just about words. It means that crucial money from the National Disaster Response Fund can't be used to help the families of people who die from the heat.
And that policy leads to another massive failure. We can't even agree on how many people are dying. The police have one number, over 20,000 deaths between 2000 and 2020. The Weather Department has another, around 10,000. But then you look at scientific estimates, like studies in The Lancet, and they paint a much, much grimmer picture. They estimate the true death toll could be as high as 150,000 people every single year. Meanwhile, as our cities get hotter and hotter, that's the urban heat island effect, the most obvious solution we have, trees, is being wiped out. We hear all these promises, right? For every tree we cut, we'll plant 10 more. But what's really happening? For every 1 square kilometer of new trees that get planted, 18 square kilometers of old, established forest is cut down. It's a massive net loss.
You know, El Niño is a natural cycle. It'll come and it'll go. But the world it keeps coming back to, that world is fundamentally different each time. Every time it shows up, the starting point is hotter, our systems are more fragile, and the stakes, they're just so much higher.
And that leaves us with one last, pretty sobering question. For a child who's born in the summer of 2026, a summer that could really test our limits, what is a normal summer even going to mean to them?